today is Eddie Travier, the CEO and co-founder of Coinsilium, and Malcolm Pelly, the executive chairman and co-founder. Thank you both for joining us today, and thank you for your time. So Malcolm, let me just ask you first of all, there's been news this morning from Coinsilium that you've raised 1.25 plus 250,000 in an oversubscribed placing, and this is to be used to deploy further to the development of Forza. So let me ask first of all, you say it's oversubscribed, so you would have made a pitch, or the broker would have made a pitch. What was the appetite like from amongst investors?
Okay, thank you, Mark. There were two elements to this. There's firstly the placing, which was oversubscribed for 1.25 million. And then we followed that up with a Winter Floods retail offer, which was for 250,000, and that was oversubscribed by 4 times, so that had to be scaled back. So this was kind of a process that was announced late on Thursday, and then we left the retail offer open Friday, and it closed Friday afternoon. So in total, gross proceeds of 1.5 million, which are to be used to further the Forza Bitcoin Treasury venture that Coinsilium has set up within its structure. Now, we've been talking about this for a little while. It was officially launched in Gibraltar because Forza is a Gibraltar company, and it was launched in March. In Gibraltar, we invited our strategic advisor, James Van Straten, across to Gibraltar, who gave a presentation to the audience there, and also Minister of Finance and various other people here. So we've been working on this for quite a long time. But you have to get all your ducks lined up, and the last piece of the jigsaw, which takes us to the next chapter, it was the funding, because the funding will be used to further the development of Forza as a discrete company and vehicle within the Coinsilium structure. The reason why we're kind of using this structure is twofold. Firstly, it gives us a way of discreetly managing a treasury of Bitcoin, specifically within the company structure, without distracting us from our other activities, which are investing in blockchain and Web3 companies and startups. And we have a portfolio of investments there. And also to fit the kind of regulatory requirements, which are quite specific and discrete, because particularly we'll come into this later with the UK about how it treats cryptocurrencies under the temporary FCA regime, which is a whole kind of quagmire if you don't handle it properly in itself. And also from the Gibraltar point of view, it has its own kind of approach to cryptocurrency regulation, but it also gives us optionality. And the optionality is that, what do we do with Forza as it grows? So at the moment, it's being funded through Coinsilium, and Coinsilium sells shares, raises funds, and puts that towards the development of Forza, which will include the growth of the entity itself. And obviously, I think investors will be expecting us to purchase some Bitcoin, which will go into Forza, into its treasury. And that way we can discreetly announce every time that Forza buys Bitcoin, we can then announce that to the market without any risk of kind of contaminating. That's probably not the right word, but just keeping it discreet from the other areas of Coinsilium's operations. So that's really hopefully that sums up quite well. But obviously the raise went extremely well. It was the first kind of real interest that we've seen in what we're doing, and people seem to get it. The market seems to like it, so we're very happy. But as I said, it opens up to the second chapter, which is the growth of and the development of Forza, because as you would imagine, as it grows, we need to fund it with more Bitcoin as well to give it some robust kind of collateral within it, so that it can demonstrate its value and its growth potential.
So this is all about Forza then, and growing that vehicle effectively away from the investment side, the other activities of Coinsilium, of course, Forza being that wholly owned vehicle dedicated to the Bitcoin trading activities. Eddie, I'd
It's
just
not.
like
It's
to
not trade. It's not Bitcoin trading. Don't use that word trading.
treasury activities,
Treasury,
not
yes,
trading. Yeah,
yes,
treasury
yes, correct.
activities. Yeah.
We're not. We're looking to make sure that Forza is in a position to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible, and we do have a sort of another strategy in that, which is yield optimization, which Eddie will be able to go into better. But the idea is we're not just sitting there with a pot of Bitcoin
Yeah.
and waiting and hoping for it to go up. We're also making that Bitcoin and the Treasury sweat so that it can generate yields, which in turn can be converted into
Cool.
more Bitcoin.
Exactly. Well, Eddie, I do want to talk about the Bitcoin 2.0 model in a moment, but first of all, I wonder if we can just get a sense of sort of why this trend at the moment, let's say, of building Bitcoin treasuries. What's going on in the world, and particularly with the UK market?
Well, I think this has started mostly in the US, and it has been spreading around the world. I mean, there are different reasons, I guess, by different actors, but the main reason has been that a lot of corporations, institutions, funds, and sometimes even states see good reason to accumulate Bitcoin and to make sure that it's a kind of a protection. Sometimes the word lifeboat is used, but a protection against the erosion of monetary erosion, potential inflation, basically potential risk. So, this store of value, this digital gold feature of Bitcoin is becoming more and more obvious as time goes by. We started Coinsilium at the time when Bitcoin was probably, I don't know, $200-300. And about 11 years later, we are at more than 100,000. So it's very clear that there has been a continuous growth. And this continuous growth means that it's giving reassurances to a lot of institutions, a lot of companies, that it may be worth holding treasury in Bitcoin rather than what we call fiat currencies.
Okay. So that continued growth and Bitcoin now at over 103,000, that gives you confidence rather than alarm bells that it's getting too hot, for example.
Yes, it gives confidence because Bitcoin is not only a growth, a price growth. Bitcoin is also a network growth. It's also a kind of a technical stamp of confidence, because what happens is all of this, let's say, all the technological evolution that we have seen, let's say in the last 30 years, we know that you have to go through certain stages. The same happened with the internet, right? So with Bitcoin, it has been the same. There has been some skepticism at first, and then people realize, well, actually, the blockchain is working. You can go back to the original day of creation of Bitcoin. You have all the transactions. It's spread across a wide range of nodes around the world. Mining works. It's protecting the network at a level that is unseen in terms of computational power. So it's not only the price that is giving reassurance, really. It's a combination of all the characteristics of Bitcoin. The fact that it's working as well as a very efficient and secure way of paying. So the fact that it's working technically also provides that confidence.
Okay, good. Well, just finally, Eddie, let's just get an understanding of the differentiator with Forza here in this Bitcoin 2.0 model. What advantages does your model give over others in the area who perhaps holding Bitcoin in treasury?
Well, we realized that there are very early on when we started working on Forza, we realized that rather than just having Bitcoin being held, we could have a part of it, obviously not everything, but a part of it can be collateralized, and with a low risk level, we can use that collateral as a source for borrowing what we call stable coins. So, for example, USDT or USDC, because today there are many opportunities out there to generate yield at a quite good level for stable coins, and the stablecoin market has really peaked. It has really grown over the last few years. So we believe that there are many opportunities, and there will be more opportunities for stable coins. So by using a part of the Bitcoin holdings for collateral and borrowing stable coins, we're able to generate yield, specifically or at least partly through tools like Automato. It's a portfolio company that helps automate certain strategies. So, for example, yield optimization strategy, which is basically trying to get the best yield across different platforms with these stable coins. And with the yield generated, we can buy more Bitcoin. So it's a kind of a more active Bitcoin accumulation strategy than just holding Bitcoin in Treasury.
Okay.
I'd also just like to add another element to that, which is two. Firstly, the opportunity, particularly in the UK, is very interesting because unlike the US, where these Bitcoin treasury companies are popping up left, right, and center, and certainly on the back of MicroStrategy, which is now Strategy, and MetaPlanet, and various others around the world. The UK regulatory environment is somewhat different because the FCA have restricted the UK retail investors' access to what they refer to as exchange-traded notes, or any product that references the price of cryptocurrency. And that ban was introduced in January 2021. So effectively, retail investors are very limited in how they can actually access Bitcoin, other than buying spot Bitcoin or buying it through one of the platforms like Revolut, or possibly through an exchange that is permitted to sell crypto in the UK, which would be registered on the FCA register. But it's a very different kind of process to buying what is effectively a financial instrument like a share on an exchange, which is what most retail investors are used to. So you'd like to buy your stocks and your investments through your stockbroker. So in order to actually achieve this, we have to be very careful about how we structured our proposition, so that we can't be seen to be our company effectively is not contravening any rules by looking like it's referencing the crypto that we hold, or the Bitcoin that we hold, and we achieve that through the other investments in our portfolio, because those have value as well. But the interesting opportunity, as I said, is the fact that these regulations are in place, these restrictions are in place, and it does kind of cause a supply restriction of products for retail investors in the UK, and that's where we hope to satisfy the demand. Okay. I don't think that restriction is going to go on forever, because it's quite clear with developments in the States, things are changing there. I don't think it'll probably change anytime soon, but when you look at the rationale that the FCA had for introducing this ban on crypto products, a lot of that criteria is changing. One of them was the kind of inherent nature of the underlying assets that perceived to have no value. Well, it's very hard to argue that Bitcoin's got no value now, and also the inadequate understanding of crypto assets by retail consumers, which is one of the main factors. And now retail, they say retail consumers, but they're investors. Retail investors are the smartest in the room in this space. They know more than a lot of the brokers. They know more about the way this market's going, and they are the lifeblood of everything that's going on in the broking world. So if the retail investor wants crypto products, and it's perceived to actually have a better understanding than perhaps the FCA thought, I think there'll be a point in time where there's going to be a reconsideration. In fact, it is constantly under review. And I don't think that the FCA did it for the wrong reasons. I think they were absolutely at the time doing these, making these points for the right reasons. And there's no question there have been some propositions which were absolutely not fit for purpose. So bottom line is we're positioning ourselves in this space to be able to compete with some of the influx of new propositions that would align themselves in this market to meet the demand of the retail investor. And we want Forza to be up there as one of those that, as a very early mover, is fit for purpose, and retail investors can actually see the differentiator there. And obviously with Coinsilium backing it and behind it, we've got 10 years experience in the industry, so we're veterans. We know what we're doing. We know what's coming down the road, and we're very excited about the way forward. And our shareholders should be as well.
Well, I was going to just ask a final point. Why should people perhaps consider holding shares in Coinsilium, if you can make a few points?
Well, I think we've demonstrated that over the last few days. But also, apart from this particular initiative, we do have a basket of some very interesting investments, which we can go into, and we'll go into another time. But ultimately, those you might want to consider, these are investments, particularly, should we say, Yellow Network, which is we put an update out last week saying that that's going towards its token launch imminently, and that has a potential transformative potential for Coinsilium because of the attraction and the interest that it's getting in its token launch. So we've not just got the Forza model, which is getting a lot of attention. We've got a couple of lottery tickets in there as well. So I think that's really what it is. And plus, 10 years on the market, we're now coming into our own after, this long period of gestation when Bitcoin is now becoming more prevalent, a little bit like the dot-com boom. Took a while to get to where it is. We're so early days in this anyway, but I think investors should take comfort in the fact that we've been around the block. We know what we're doing. We're there from the earliest days, and we're getting a lot of interest now, particularly at this particular moment in time. So, and Eddie and I both personally invested materially in the company. And our intention, our commitment is to deliver significant returns for our shareholders who support us.
Well,
and have supported us from the early days.
Excellent. Well, thank you both very much for your time, Malcolm Pally and Eddie Travier from Coinsilium Group.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.